good to hear you.
Yeah, good to
And
see
good to
you
see
again.
you. Yeah, and here's my coffee.
Yes, I of
Woohoo!
course did not brought a coffee because I never drink coffee, but I brought my tea and
Yeah.
as I'm in expedition mode now, I of course also brought my glass bottle from the expedition to have my tea
Yeah,
with you.
I remember that one. You had it always, all the time, everywhere.
Yeah,
But
well,
it was good that it was only tea. Otherwise, you would have been totally over with caffeine.
yeah, no, it was always tea, and I always had it with me, except like outside because there it was simply too cold. But inside, yeah, you're right. I have it always
Uh,
with me, and I forgot it like in several places all over the ship, but everybody knew that it's mine.
yeah, I have a standard coffee with some milk. Very easy. And yeah, I think people ask like how the habits were changing, like with respect to coffee. And I think I always have my coffee in the morning, and I always have my coffee after lunch. And I did the same on board, I guess, but I guess a little bit more. Just, I guess I needed more
Yeah,
coffee.
but I mean, you've been also lucky that people brought you coffee into the Ocean City tent, right? I mean, they brought you coffee and cakes, so this was really
Yeah,
unique.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, but maybe we should start first with actually what we are doing here. I'm not sure actually. But
Yeah, good
so
point,
maybe
maybe.
before we started to go into details about all the great fun we had, maybe to introduce us. So I'm Janin. I'm a physical oceanographer. And yeah, so we joined. Oh, Steffi, who are you?
Yes. And I'm Steffi. I'm a CS physicist. We are both at RV and in Bremerhaven. So I'm actually also sitting now in Bremerhaven, and you are sitting in Bremen, right?
Yeah, I'm living in Bremen, so I'm sitting in Bremen. And we are both back since 2 weeks now, I think, or two and a
Yeah.
half weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, from a really long and but fantastic expedition in the Arctic. So yeah, you probably most of the people here have heard of Mosaic. Yeah, so it's a big drift experiment where Polarstern, the icebreaker, is in the Arctic sea ice and drifting with the ice. And so we went there, or we started off beginning or end of January, and that took a while, and then we stayed there quite long because, yeah, just because the world changed.
The world changed, the ice changed. There was a lot of change going on. Well, but yeah. But now we are back and
Yeah.
having here our tea and coffee.
Yeah, and just to tell all people watching us, so you can ask questions to us. We try to have a look to what we ask, and then we can, of course, refer to that and let you, yeah, tell you some stories to whatever questions you have.
Nice.
Oh,
Ah,
who was the father of
who
Julia?
will be on the Polarstern? That's funny though.
Yeah. Oh yeah, let us know who it was.
This is what I always tell. Polarstern is like a family. You always meet people you've
Yeah.
been there with before, or you know from I don't know a conference or a meeting, or from university basically, or from wherever. So that's amazing.
Yeah. So we talk about 20 minutes, and then afterwards we yeah, come back to your questions again, and yeah. So yeah, what do we start with? I don't know. Uh, so where did you drink
Igor,
your?
she's Igor's daughter. Oh, that's great.
Ah,
Greetings to Igor.
yeah, say hi to. That's fun.
Funny. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, how did we reach the ship? We can directly go also to that because it kind of tells our story a little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah. Do you want to
Yeah.
start?
Yeah, well, so as you mentioned, so we left basically Tromsø end of January, and we were supposed to be at the flow then mid of February, but yeah, we had quite some delays already when we left Tromsø because we had the ship was delayed, and then we had to wait for better weather conditions to cross the open ocean towards the ice. And then we reached the ice, and yeah, well, as it was in the middle of Arctic winter, the ice was super thick and really compact, and yeah, the ice extent was of course almost at the maximum, and therefore it took us much longer than expected. And there were, of course, already there a lot of discussions going on. So how can we reach the ship and so on? But in the end, we managed it, and we arrived there, I think, on the 28th of February, when I'm right, when I remember right.
No idea.
I think
So
something
long
like
ago.
that. And what was really amazing, I mean, when I think now back on this time, we spent the time on the Kapitan Ranitsin, on the Russian icebreaker. And when I think now back on the time when we spent on Ranitsin, I actually just think about polar night, because it was basically all the time darkness. And just when we arrived the flow, basically, I mean, this is what I sent already beforehand in a message to the captain, that we will bring the sun with us when we arrive.
Aww.
And basically, this is exactly what happened, because the day we arrived was when they had the first time, like something like twilight conditions there. And that was really nice. Well, it was really nice for them. I think it's for us still kind of unfortunate that we never saw the ice camp in pure darkness. But I mean, also those twilight conditions have been super impressive, actually.
Yeah, and then it went so quickly from this twilight to light all the time.
Yes. Yeah, I think it was like something like 2 weeks that we had like seen the first time the sun, and then that the sun did never...
I think it was 8 days. The meteorologist said that there was sunrise and sunset.
Yeah,
so
okay.
It was really...
Yeah, so it was really,
quick.
really amazing. So it was like nothing. And this is why when I think now back about our, like, it's basically all the time bright. But when I thought beforehand about our, like, it was all the time like, well, it will be super dark, and I was super afraid of that, because somehow, well, not really afraid, but this was what I was like, okay, I was used to work in the dark on the ice, but of course not with the polar bears and the surrounding and all that. So that was like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And then also when we arrived, it was so crazy cold. So there was also one question of someone, I think. So how cold it was. I think when we arrived, it was around -30 and even a bit colder sometimes.
Yeah.
So that was funny, because the others were, oh, it's so cold. But I mean, for us, it was, yeah.
It was normal.
I think we expected
Yes.
it to be cold. And so the record was -42, I think.
Yeah.
And
that was exactly in the beginning when we arrived. So we've been, basically, we were just thrown into those really, really cold conditions. Everything froze immediately. That was crazy.
Yeah, and then I think with the wind chill, it was even -60 or something.
Yeah, even below. Yeah, it was, This was the moment when I started the first time with Amy, the one I was sitting in the snow pits all the time when we started the dancing on the ice to get warm again. Because it's getting really cold when you sit there and...
Yeah, you were most experienced with that.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I remember this nice trip we did together, and it was for me, I mean, usually I worked inside a tent, so in Ocean City, which is not a real city, it's rather a tent.
I'm still not sure whether this was called a city.
Well, I mean, we had also instruments outside the tent installed around.
Yeah,
so
and you had your own power hub, but...
Yeah. So the thing was that there was a hole, so there was the hole had a diameter of 1.50 meter, so we could lower different kind of instruments through that hole into the water, and then put it deep into the water column and measure then temperature, salinity, and so on. So we spent actually most of our days inside this tent, and in the beginning it was lovely because it was quite freezing cold outside, so it was always a nice adventure to go to the tent, but then being cozy inside was also not too bad.
We were so jealous.
But then I was jealous when it turned to be so sunny and warmer in April, and I was stuck in this tent.
This was the moment when I got the first time a sunburn.
Yeah.
When we spent all the times outside, and then you just like, when you had your face mask like all around, and then just like this part looking out, but this was already enough. Getting in the beginning frostbites, and in the end sunburn.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't even have a window. So sometimes I left the door open, but then it got too cold for the sensors, so I needed to close it again. And oh, I was so happy when someone came in and was like,
And
leave the
brought
door
coffee and
open.
tea.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Cake.
Yeah, coffee, usually not, but cake. Mm. Yeah, so it's always at 3:30 is cake time on the ship. But we usually worked from 1 to 5:30 on the ice, so in the tent. So then the polar bear guards guarding us, they swapped, and so they sometimes brought some cake. So that was awesome.
Yeah, we also had it actually once when we had to work at Remote Sensing City, and there was actually a birthday from somebody working there. And then another participant from my team, she then just brought a big pile of cake onto the ice. That was really nice. And she also brought hot chocolate. But the problem with the cake was that it was super cold. So the air was super cold. And that meant also the cake got super cold, kind of frozen even though it was just really a short time outside. And then you had really the struggle because you had your face mask and all the scarves and all that. And then you needed to put that all down to eat that cake. And that costed a lot of energy. And it was really, in the end, I was like really grumpy because I had that cake and even the sugar was not enough to get me warm afterwards again. So I just started again jumping around and did not even finish my cake. That was really frustrating. But it was nice still. But
yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
That's a little bit frustrating still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah. So what other questions did the people ask? What did we study? Yeah, maybe we can tell that actually. What did you study, Steffi?
Yeah.
I think
You
we
saw
met. Do you remember that we met one time on some meteorological student thing? And I mean, we only noticed now a couple of years
I
ago,
think we
but I
found
found
later
this
a picture actually. This is
Yeah.
how I met several people on Polarstern who told me that I met them already before at exactly that student meeting. So I studied meteorology in Berlin and Hamburg, but went already pretty early into the direction of sea ice physics, or in general in the beginning like into polar science, and did my first Polarstern expedition already during my bachelor's. As an oceanographer, actually. So there I did for 10 weeks CTD work. Yes.
Yeah, and I studied physical oceanography, or more, it's physical oceanography, meteorology, and geophysics in the bachelor's in Kiel, so northern Germany, and then I did my master's in climate physics, but with a focus on physical oceanography and also already a little bit more on polar oceanography. So I went for one semester to Bergen, to Norway, and also joined already actually quite a lot of cruises or expedition as a student, but then more to the tropical regions. That was also fun. But now actually the sea ice is just so fascinating that I then thought I want to do polar science because it's just so beautiful.
It is, definitely. But you've been also before on Polarstern already, right?
No, the first time was when I started my PhD at ABI. Yeah, so no, before I was usually in the tropics, subtropics.
I missed that part. I went directly. My first cruise ever on a ship was on Polarstern to Antarctica. And since then, I just, I've been basically there,
Yeah, so that's how we ended up there.
Yeah, true.
And what else was there? There was this one question. Oh, yeah, what do we do in our free time on the ship? Yeah, I think that's really fun to tell, actually. I mean, first of all, we work a lot. So it always sounds like the best idea ever to go on an expedition, and it's great, but you work a lot. So if you want to apply for something like this, be aware that you will need to work a lot and long time, but it's worth it. And there are so many great moments on the ice that give you so much energy that you just you're just happy to do all this. And I think for us it was really busy in March and also April, but then there was Easter. That was a super nice break. I
Yeah.
remember this Easter walk on Sunday. Did you
Yeah.
join that one? Oh,
Yeah,
it
well,
was
I
so
mean, I kind of
lovely.
initiated it, yeah. We wanted to have it in the
Yeah.
beginning just with the sea ice team, and then everybody joined in.
Oh,
But it was,
yeah, I think that was my, I think I,
no, but that was super great. I mean, it was really like, I mean, we did that already several times before, that we had those walks in the evenings around the camp, actually. So on those roads, we had flags where people were allowed to walk or to ride the snowmobiles. And yeah, and then we also did it for Easter, and that was really nice because it was a really big group. It was not only us scientists, but also people from the crew and from the logistics team, and like everybody was involved. And it
yeah.
was super nice weather. It was blue skies.
Yeah.
It was super, super
Yeah, and
nice.
also we went somewhere where there was no installation from any
Yeah,
scientists.
yeah.
So then you also don't talk about it. That's a
Yeah,
good thing.
exactly. That's actually my initial idea for that Easter walk was. So what I told my team is that they are not allowed to work, but that we do this Easter walk around the installations and talk about where. So were allowed to talk about science, but not to do science. But in the end, I'm really happy actually that we went to an area where were also not able actually to talk about science because there was no
Yeah.
science. I think it was a former, or it was then later the landing strip, right? Where we
Yeah,
walked
yeah,
on. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that was a beautiful day, and also it's nice to sometimes just go away from the ship so that
Yeah.
you don't, like, I mean, you have the ship all the time. It of course makes some noise, and yeah, it's just sometimes nice to be then really far away so that you don't hear it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there were also this nice nights when some people played football or frisbee on the ice just right next to the ship. That was super nice. I joined sometimes the frisbee. That was fun.
Yeah. And of course
Yeah.
also the camping on the ice. So that was
Yeah.
really amazing. I did
Mm.
that once before in Antarctica on the fast ice close to
Mm.
our overwintering station.
Mm.
But there now it was really different, especially because where we did it was also super cold, and it was in an area where we still had this 4,000 meter of ocean below us. And that was
Yeah.
really amazing. When you lie there, then in your tent, in your super thick and warm
Mm.
sleeping bag, and it was actually really cozy, even though it was so cold and everything was just
Yeah.
freezing, and even so it was kind of snowing from the top, so that was really funny. But then having this in mind that there's like, yeah, there's just like
I
2 meters of ice. I mean, this is
yeah.
what I measured all the time before, so I knew it pretty accurately. Pretty accurately. And then there's like 4,000 meters of just pure water. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I think you tend to forget about it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
even though, I mean, I was looking into this hole all the time and lowering our instruments into the ocean, but I think a lot of people really forgot.
Yeah.
And yeah, but also the camping was great, and it was for me one of my highlights. So there was also a question was, or there were several highlights, but one was also when I did join the camping. We needed to do polar bear watches,
Yeah.
so just to note if there is a polar bear around or not, and then you would yeah, need to take action. So we were like, I had not so much luck in choosing the time, so mine was 4 o'clock in the night.
Oh, I had the same. 4 to 5.
Yeah, 4 to 5. But then it was so amazing because
Yes.
like it was just silence.
Yeah.
Because usually like when you step somewhere it makes some sound, but then it was silence and you would just hear that the ice is working, and then it's so beautiful to see all the little details in the snow, and then there was some wind going around the ice block and it made so crazy sounds, and I was just so like, oh, it was so cool, and I
Yeah.
just was happy to be there. And I mean it was light, there was no darkness, of course,
Yeah.
so it was just very beautiful.
Yeah.
That was one of my highlights, I would say.
No, definitely. I would also, I mean, I did quite some polar bear guarding also before, but especially that one because, I mean, there was nobody, and I knew, okay, it's just me on that slow now. And okay, the others were there sleeping, of course, but I mean,
Yeah.
there was nobody else I could see, and it was really, so there was no wind at all, and so it was really, really, really calm. And the guy from the logistics, Eric, told us before that we should not walk in too close vicinity to the tents because otherwise it's too loud. And I was like, hey, why? And then I just realized it because in normal case, because there's so much
Steffi,
action on the flow, there was always some noise, like from the ship or from other people. But there it was really like silent. So I just started like I standed on my hill and was really just like turning around. like every, I don't know, 2 minutes or something, I just changed the direction and really tried to do as as little noise as possible. So it was really
Yeah.
great. But I really
Yeah.
enjoyed that. So this was really, I did not expect that before. And I was before like, oh shit, why do I have the 4 o'clock one? But it was really,
Yeah.
really good. So
Same
it was
for
quite
me.
an experience, definitely.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, wow, that's really wow. And now thinking about it, it feels already like so long ago. I mean, we left the flow on the, what was it, 16th of May. It's like
Yeah.
1.5 months ago now.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's really crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And then some people asked about the Corona stuff and yeah, how it's gonna be in the future. I mean, that's so uncertain. How this is affecting expeditions. It's of course does a lot. For us, it was the case that, I mean, we went on board of Tranitsi in January, so we were all kind of safe. And
Yeah.
then we were on board in March, and the world changed, and it was like a science fiction movie for us.
Yeah,
Like
it was really, it
we
really
were the
felt
ones
like, yeah,
outside,
definitely. It really
so
felt
that
all the
was
time
crazy.
reading and seeing all that really felt like a movie you see like in the theater or in TV. Like, okay, that's a world far, far away from us. And I mean, basically
Yeah,
also at the same time, the flow started to break up and we had all those dynamic events and all those
yeah,
leads and openings
yeah,
in the ice, which caused also for us on site so much trouble that it was really, like I say, there was some corona going on, but I didn't felt affected at all because there was so much going on in our world. That's
yeah. I also hardly could take this information in because I was so busy with all the problems we had on the flow to cope with. But then after a while, when this got more and more crazy in the world, of course,
yeah,
you talk to your family and then yeah, but the phone connection is quite bad. But we still have WhatsApp, so you can talk, yeah, write
yeah,
to your friends and family. And yeah, it was also now talking to the people when we are back here. Everyone experienced it so differently, and I think it often depended on the people you were talking to. Like if they experienced it in a way that they took something positive out of it, in a way that they were staying home and slowing down or going a lot outside in the nature because there was nothing else to do, then you rather got an idea of, well, okay, it sucks, but yeah, okay, they make the best out of it. But when you had someone at home who kind of is more depressive about it or who really struggled because of economic reasons, then of course it's another story. And I think especially for people on board who had small children at home, that was a really tough time. And
yeah, no, definitely.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely. But it was also interesting to see how this perspective changed because in normal case, when we go on expeditions, it's like us being isolated because it's us being on that ship with just 100 people. So we are like, in normal case,
yeah,
around 50 people assigned and 50 people
yeah,
crew. Now it was a little bit shifted because we had a little bit less crew, but more logistics and science. And then you have this like isolated world with those 100 people for like a couple of weeks or months. And this was all the time like where people like, wow, you have just those people. Wow, that's amazing that you have just to cope with them. But now it was like, okay, everybody at home was in isolation, and there was like everybody just like basically almost in single isolation. That you had just like you and yourself, and maybe your husband or your family, but that's it. And so this was really a completely changed
yeah,
perspective. And this is what I really realized the first time when we had this Easter fire also on the ice, because there was, I mean, this was like after I think the peak of Corona times for us. And it was like really, okay, we were gathering there with like, I don't know, 50, 60 people on the ice having a really, really nice gathering. And it was a nice Easter celebration. And we knew, okay, we might be not only the most northern one, but maybe we are really like worldwide the only ones having this Easter fire with such a gathering. So that was
yeah, that was really something.
yeah, amazing to think about that, to really just see it in this different perspective.
Yeah, and also now when we went back home, it was really like we were thinking, okay, now we all do sports together, and maybe, or I mean, we did also the salsa dancing on Merian. So one colleague, he taught us how to dance salsa, and was like, okay, maybe, yeah, and soon we can't do it anymore. So we
Yeah,
need to really appreciate
yeah,
actually this, and
yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, it was especially when we then arrived in Bremerhaven on Merian, and we were all gathering like arm in arm on board, and then we saw the people on land
Yeah.
being there like with this 1.5 meter
Yeah.
distance. So this was really a different world coming back to.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's, of course, now the question, how did we do an Easter fire?
Oh,
I
yes.
was also thinking, like, now people think of the big fire. No, this wouldn't work. It was rather small in this kind of, what is it, barrels?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, a really small one. But it was enough, like really just, it was basically in the end, yeah, not really about the fire or like how the initial Easter fire is meant to. It's basically to have a nice gathering with also some hot chocolate. I think we had on the ice some hot tea.
Ah, yeah.
And yeah, so and that's basically it. But yeah, it's basically another gathering event. And I think they also played football and some frisbee, and it's just like nice to spend some time to spend some time together, and again like to have some day or some time off, kind of, to not only like work, even though we worked, as you already mentioned, a lot. But yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah, that was nice.
Nice.
So are there
Nice memories.
Yeah, I think we could talk forever, but it's already 25 minutes,
Yeah.
26. So maybe we should see if there's some more questions or not.
No, those
I think some people want to work with you, Steffi.
Oh, ha. That should be possible.
Yeah, I also have a look if there's some more.
Yeah. And also, hi to Laura. She's also online, and she just wrote that we moved on the 3rd of March, the ships. So I think we arrived on the 28th, and I think we moved ships with the people from like Chile on the 3rd. This is when we officially took over. And yeah, a week later, the flow broke up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was so mean, because it was exactly the first day after quite some days we couldn't work outside because it was so cold that we were not allowed to work outside, because the wind chill was below -60 and it was like still super windy and so cold. And then it was the first day. And then I remember already in the morning when we went to our snow pit, there was already a small crack. And we just went over it. We didn't thought about really like in detail about it. It was all fine. So it was safe. It was really just like small. And yeah, and this was the beginning.
Otherwise it would have been too boring, you know.
Yeah, exactly. This is what
That's
an expedition
nature.
is like, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing also. It's just like, this was actually different to other expeditions or cruises with the ship. I think this really was an expedition.
Yeah, it was really, I mean, this is what people told already before, but I think we really felt it as an expedition, as the entire setup changed. It was at some point not clear when we get home. So it was really like, this is like how they must have felt in earlier years.
Yeah, well, okay, that was probably more tough for,
it
for those
was even
guys.
more tough, but it was.
I mean, we had this nice FXR suits. We had so much clothes on it. I mean,
and we had enough food.
Yeah. Yeah, we had enough food, certainly.
Yeah. More than enough.
Yeah, more than enough.
Nice.
Cool. So there's a lot of people saying hi. That's nice.
Yeah. Nice. And the half an hour is already gone. Wow.
Yeah.
It's like the expedition. It's just like over.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, I don't know. How many days was it now, Steffi?
I had all these calculations. I think, how was it? We've been like from home, so leaving Bremerhaven until being back was 145 days. I think spending time on Polarstern, so we spent 95 days on Polarstern, and we spent...
That's the two scientists here.
And we spent 79 days on the flow, actually.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
crazy.
It's quite some numbers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
So, yeah, thanks for this nice coffee break. I'm almost done.
Oh, I'm almost done, yes.
Yeah, I think I forgot drinking also a little bit. So there's another coffee break next week. I don't know with whom, actually. Maybe we should have a look.
Me neither. I'm not sure whether it's somebody from us. I don't know.
I don't know either, but it's same day, same time. So be back. And now I love this question about the cocktails. Yeah, sometimes we have some fun and have cocktails. Sometimes, even on the ice. But honestly, also a lot. Alcohol was empty because we were there for such a long time.
But you should never put the sea ice into your cocktail, otherwise it's getting salty.
Yeah, that's
As a small lesson learned. What did you learn out of the coffee break? Don't put sea ice into your cocktail.
yeah, that's
Great.
maybe a nice finish.
And my tea is
Okay.
over.
So cool. Thanks for listening. And then
Yes.
have a great day.
Thanks,
Now
everybody.
I also don't see... Okay, I see you again. Sometimes it was just hanging up. Yeah.
Nice.
Cool. Your bottle is empty.
Yes.
You can show it again. Woohoo! Okay.
All right, nice. Then have a nice evening. Oh no, it's afternoon. Have a nice afternoon.
It's afternoon. Okay.
And see you in the office. Bye, everybody.
Yeah. Bye-bye.